I remember hot days in Australia, and it's dry there, but still, you have a shower and you come out and you're just like, I just still feel wet. Like Virginia actually was worse because it's so humid there, and you just get out and you're like, maybe I'll just live in the shower.
You're like, I don't know.
That'll feel good.
I'm famous.
From somewhere.
It's probably from.
And actually, I mentioned to Bonnie, and I know. I was just gonna mention, because I had mentioned it to Bonnie, because I showed you this diagram of the highs and lows, and it is, I was saying it's very natural still. We still have highs and lows in our day. We will still, like it will still look like this. But it's like going on the little roller coaster, the dragon, instead of like the West Ed one, where the West Ed one makes you feel sick and black out, and the little one's kind of like, ooh, that's a gentle breeze, and so you want a gentle breeze kind of life, yeah. It's trying to keep that moderation, because you still will need, you need sustenance, you need food, like there's still, even though I've learned personally a lot about blood sugar levels and balancing them, because that was a big issue for me, and maybe I'll share the story, because I'm going to, but I still remember when, this was before no, that's in my story, I think. We'll do that after.
It's coming up.
So let's start with our question. Yes. So what does sugar do for you? Where am I? There I am. Yeah. Is there anything that sugar does for you?
Makes me feel good for a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, some sugar in it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
I have it as a
Love it.
familiar friend,
Mm.
and it takes care of me.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
I've thought of it
powerful.
that way before.
It takes
Yeah.
care of you in what way?
Emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a conversation starter. Like, I don't feel comfortable in groups, especially if there's like lots of food out and it's like I don't necessarily feel comfortable. I'll like just go and snack because it's like easier to like put myself out there
Yes.
when I'm like,
Doing something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a distractor from the awkwardness.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be, you're right, yeah.
That is so
Like, if I
true.
don't have anything to talk about, therefore I'm gonna go to the buffet.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like my mouth's
Dessert.
full. Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
It's like liquid courage, but
Yeah.
But solid courage.
yeah, solid and courage.
So true.
you look busy and
Mhm.
Yeah, it's true.
Who else?
I feel like it makes me tired.
Mm.
So if I've been like super tired,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, I've really not been eating well lately
Mm.
because I feel like I want a nap, which is not normal for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're overloaded, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And it can be something that it's like, it'll put me to sleep
For
if
sure.
I eat a good amount, and
Yeah.
then I'll actually crash.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
good.
Crash. Yeah. That's, yeah.
Which is interesting, because
Sure.
it's very true,
Mhm.
and then what's intriguing is what we sometimes don't know or haven't connected is that we tend to then have a restless sleep right after,
Right.
because our body is
Right.
focused on digesting where it should be focused on repair and replenishing, not
Mhm.
digesting, and so a lot of people who can fall asleep well to food
Mm-hmm.
end up finding that 1, 2, 3 a.m. There's some restlessness and some
Mhm.
weakness during that time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
Jen and I actually talked just recently while we were kind of preparing this, how sugar can serve just a place of joy and family. Like it's like, want to do something? Let's go for ice cream.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So true.
okay,
I
so
love it.
we love if you're a parent, who is a parent in this room? First of all, who is a parent? Not everybody is. Okay, so I would say 70% of you raised your hand. So maybe it's maybe it's not a child. Insert friend. It's like, what do we want to do? Let's go for a Slurpee. Let's go for ice cream. Why? Because it does bring tremendous joy. It's like, ooh. Sure, can
Bond.
also.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
oh, I said bond.
Bond.
Yeah.
It really can bond.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's habit forming in the sense of how we were raised.
It
Like,
is.
this is what, it was so great to gather
Mhm.
around food or a cake, or like,
Mhm.
these were always happy moments.
Yeah.
Generally, it kind of shut down the conflict if we're singing happy birthday and having cake
It's
together.
very true.
Right? And
Nobody's
so,
fighting at that time.
right? That's the hope. But learning that it's like to build
Yeah.
some of those good, happy habits around other things.
Yeah.
Or even around great food that satisfies us, whole foods. I know even the other night, and I was sharing this with Christine, Jared and I were like, oh, it'd be fun to do something as a family tonight. And it's like, we could, bike and get blizzards. And not that we don't ever do that. I think it's super fun. We were both like, they really don't need it. It's just getting close to bedtime. And I just don't want them to have it. It's like, well, we could go and even budget wise, and it's like, that's too much. It's like, well, we could go to No Frills and pick up ingredients to make blizzards. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's a lot. And we ended up hanging out. And then when it was snack time, I just cut up a whole bunch of apples, cucumbers with vinegar, because my kids love that. And had, like some of those organic tortilla chips with salsa and pecans and grapes. And they just sat down there and enjoyed it. And it was delightful. And it was a happy moment. And I was like, we can have happy moments without the blizzard. Not that, again, it's the balance, but it's good to know that we can do both. Yeah.
The mistake that I genuinely believe that we make is we give the food way too much credit.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah, that's
what we
really
do
good.
with food, whether it be the social factor, whether it be celebration, a lot of it is the gathering. A lot of it is about togetherness. A lot of it is about the experience. And when you think of, like a mom and baby, if you've had a baby or if you've seen a mom feeding baby is held close, whether they're by bottle or, by breast, they're held close. There is connection, there's intimacy, there's touch, there's the experience of eating, more important, if not equally, but I would say more important than the eating, the act of eating itself. And so when we look at that, we have been born into the enjoyment of the eating experience, but as we're raised, I believe it's a part of our fast culture. I believe that we're just given the wrong message. I believe it's because we become so highly sensitized to certain food that we actually give the food the credit and not the experience the credit. And when we think, but my kids won't be satisfied when it comes to cucumbers and vinegar and organic tortilla chips, we think that it's about the blizzard, but it's not about the blizzard. The blizzard plays a role, but we actually can substitute with healthier choices while creating the experience and still feel the joy. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I would like to just, even for you, pose a question is, and it's not that we have to answer it now, but just some food for thought as you head out later is, how much credit do I give the food itself versus where am I lacking in actually crediting the eating experience, as in the people that I'm with, the environment that I'm in, enjoying the taste and the texture of the food that I'm eating versus just wolfing it down as fast as I can because I have a meeting in 5 minutes or kids screaming at me or whatever it might be. The eating experience, how can I give that greater credit and increase my overall satisfaction to the foods that I'm eating versus thinking it's just about the food itself. Cool.
And yeah, absolutely. And we want to look at a couple things as far as how we practically kick our sugar habit. And so there is two components, our lifestyle and food. And when it comes to our lifestyle, like you mentioned, Christine, our culture sometimes says this is what will bring you joy or make you happy, or this is how we live. We also live in a fast-paced culture where we like convenience. We like doing things quickly. If you're busy, you're important. If you have lots on the go, it's like then you're really someone. And it's like we're going here and there and we're not realizing that we actually are developing a big hole inside of us as far as our hunger. And Christine touched on that in the beginning. We are body, soul, and spirit. And because of that, if we're not feeding the other areas, there's a deficit where we feel we need to fill up. And so our body is yelling at us because these other two areas are a big void that's sucking, a big vacuum that's just, and so it's like, I need to fill this. And truthfully, if we do actually take the time, make the time to feed our souls and our spirits, we can find a better balance in the foods we're choosing and even a lot of our habits. I mean, lots of times with busy schedules, people will say that it's like, I just don't have the time. But it is about making the time. I mean, if we have a close friend or maybe a child who ends up sick in the hospital, you know, I'm not just going to hang out in the hospital all day because I love it. But if my child or my friend is at the hospital, you be sure I'm going to spend a chunk of my day or all day there beside them. And it's because all of a sudden it becomes a priority. And if we can realize that making, you know, taking care of those all aspects of us a priority, then we will start to see a shift in what we think is just an external behavior, but it's actually birthed out of an internal need that is deep within us. Yeah.
And for all of us, we have areas in our lives where we're starving for something.
Yeah.
As in, we're starving, if I may say, for connection. We're starving for rest. We're starving for appreciation. We're starving to share some of what's been going on within us. I can share for myself the 3 key areas where I feel where I starve, and if I miss it, I'll start to overeat. 3 key areas is number 1 in my relationship with my husband. When we are running in different directions and we're no longer in a place of connection, I am hungering for connection. I am starving for connection. And I will, if I miss that, and I used to miss that long before, I don't miss it so much anymore. When I used to miss that, I would feed that hunger, but I'd feed it with what? Food. Did that ever repair the connection in my marriage? Never once.
Right.
Did it make me bitter,
Get worse.
moody, irritated?
Yes.
Go with him? Yeah, it made it actually way worse.
Yeah.
It was horrible. You know, another point of areas where I starve is for rest. You know, for years I would, you know, work. Like my full working days, my commitment is to get as much done as I can during the daytime. That's still my commitment. I've got like this 20-point checklist of everything that I want to get done, because by the time 3:30 hits, I genuinely want to be able to be free for my kids. But do you know what happens at 3 p.m. when I do that? When I don't rest? I have built up pressure, I'm not kidding, from 8:30 a.m. all the way up to 3:30 p.m. without taking a break. And guess what I need? I need a pressure release valve. I need a place to release. Where do I release? In the pantry. Very easily in the pantry. When I recognized that my hunger was for rest, and when I started to implement a 5 to 10 minute break in the morning and a 15 to 20 minute lunch break where I don't have my phone or my computer in front of me, I'm just enjoying the eating experience that we talked about and sitting down to a meal. Do you know how quickly my cravings dissipated at 3 p.m.? Instantly. Like, it wasn't like a 30-day experiment. I mean, it was that day, which is shocking. Like, I was blown away. So for you, I would say, you know, sometimes we look at sugar, that our cravings, that it's so hard and impossible to overcome, but there's lifestyle factors in you, in areas that you're hungering for. And I just want to, you know, mention a few brief areas to get you curious. What areas of your life could you be hungering for? Where you're attempting to feed that area with sugar? Is it possible that there's a relational need? Whether it be with a primary partner or whether it be even with friendships. Maybe a parenting relationship. Is there a spiritual need within you? You know, like Jen said, we are body, soul, and spirit. And when we miss the spiritual connection, whether, you know, for some people, everybody has different terms of what spiritual is. We can say for us it's a faith aspect. I'm not saying that's for everybody. We can say for us it is. When we are connected spiritually with our Creator, I'm telling you, it makes a massive difference between stability and an increased need for sugar. Another area is physical. So physical, not just in physical hungering, but how you're moving your body. Remember when we talked about, you know, serotonin, dopamine? If I can also say, you know, we also have adrenaline. When these can be released through moving our body, I mean, really, how great does it feel to have an incredible workout? It feels phenomenal when we're doing that on a regular basis. That can be a need, an area we hunger for. So we've got spiritual, relational, physical, but also emotional, mental. Are there things within your mind or within your heart that are seeking release or nourishment? So in looking at these lifestyle areas, what could these hungers be calling out for? And it's something, you know, that perhaps you know the answer right now, and it's something you might need to spend a little bit more time pondering. But does anybody have any thoughts?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I think, like, when I think of my own habits, I just think vulnerable.
Mm.
And I think of the crash, because that's, you know, very much the addiction
Yeah.
cycle. What would you guys suggest instead of reaching for that thing, for that instant relief? What
Mhm.
would be something you could substitute that would help us get through that 30 days and out of that
Mhm.
addiction cycle? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
does.
absolutely,
It does.
absolutely. Having good options, and also kind of like I was mentioning, you know, when we are at a low, especially an extreme low initially, we really are seeking that quick fix.
Right.
But realizing that if I actually go and have something that is a eventually will be a satisfying snack, like celery and peanut butter, or even a protein ball, or something that it's like it's a slow release, or even an apple with even on its own, or even with almond butter or peanut butter, you're gonna realize that it's like it maybe doesn't bring you up like that, but within a 15-minute window, it's like, okay, good. And it's kind of settled that growly thing inside you, you know, like
Definitely.
you just have to have good options. And I was mentioning as well, you know, if you keep a box of Dad's cookies in your pantry for that moment when you're really low and you need food at that point. So your body is this is natural and it's good. You're seeking to fulfill something that is real. Like that's a real hunger moment. Then it's like realizing that it's like if I have this, it is going to be a pick me up, but it's going to be the thing that I'm going to have to keep eating more and more and more of. Whereas if I find something and I have things in my pantry that I can go to, that I know, you know what, this is going to sustain me until dinner, or this is what I can have. I've already made something that there's good choices to be able to make it. Does that help?
It did, yeah.
Yes?
Definitely.
I
I
don't
would
know if you
definitely
add to
ask.
that.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just ask the question: is this a lifestyle crash or is this a food crash? As in, has it been hours,
type of
like as
hunger?
in 4,
Yeah.
5, 6 hours since I've eaten? It's a food crash. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
If by chance it's a lifestyle crash, as in, you know, you have back-to-back appointments all day and you haven't had 5 minutes to breathe. If
Mm-hmm.
you haven't moved your body in weeks,
Mhm.
it could be a lifestyle crash.
Mhm.
So I would
Yeah.
first of all ask that question. And again, questions you might be like, but Christine, I don't know the answer. It's true, you probably won't know the answer at first, and that's okay, because as you ask these questions, as you become more intuitive about what's actually going on in your body, it's pretty phenomenal how your body genuinely starts to speak to you and tell you what you need. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
a
What
lot of-
type of hunger is it?
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will reach though for, you know, just an apple or just celery or just carrot sticks, and then they're like, that did nothing for
Yeah.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And so where Jen said, you know, to have celery with peanut butter, when you can pair a very low calorie fruit or vegetable with a fat, you can take what might satisfy for 20 to 30 minutes to be able to satisfy you for 90 minutes to 2 hours. So if you have something that's a fruit or a vegetable, very low calorie, I would highly suggest adding a protein or a gut to that in order to carry you through. Yeah.
And I can jump into food, or did you had a few more
Did we
thoughts
have
there?
anything more lifestyle?
lifestyle.
Let me just clarify where my notes are at. No, we are
Thanks.
doing just great.
Good.
Oh, the triggers. Yeah, what in areas in your life trigger your need for sugar? These are just a couple questions on your sheet. Timing, depending if we have, we're at about 7:40. I think we're just gonna leave these questions for you. We'll mention them, but I would highly ask you when you're home, whether it be tonight or throughout the week, take some time to answer these questions. So the questions are, what areas in your life trigger your need for sugar? And what are some emotional, relational, or environmental triggers for you? So some of the lifestyle stuff that I was speaking to, those were kind of a few examples of what that could be. Does that make sense if you were to answer those on your own? Okay, awesome. So
Yeah,
let's shift into food
absolutely.
then. That would be
Sometimes
great.
time of the day too, right? Is just when you get to the basement. Just seems like I need to have this beside me in the chair, you know, we just get those habits. And but jumping into food, as far as how we work through the food as part of our kicking our sugar habit, and like Christine mentioned, and that's really part of my story, is I became desperate to know how to balance my blood sugar levels, because I was a mess. I was, you know, like the doctor said, you know, hypoglycemic, and I was all over the place when it came to my energy, my moods. I still remember, like, between like the wedding and reception, you know, it's like we had a light breakfast in the morning because you're wearing a really cute tight dress, and it's like, yeah, and sorry, and then we're sitting in the parking lot of the mall in Calgary, and we're waiting for the reception. It's like, well, I don't want to eat too much because, like, I want to be able to enjoy the right, and that's what we do. And often restriction can be a huge part of what leads to our cravings and our overdoing it later, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to keep pushing through. Well, I still remember that moment though, and my new husband at the time was like, are you okay? It's like, yeah, I don't know. And it's just like, do you need to eat something? Oh, probably. And it's just like, okay, what do you need to eat? I don't know. And I was in tears. And so he's like, I don't know what to do with you. And he started freaking out. Anyways, he ran in, got an orange juice and like a bowl of like vegetable soup or something from Subway, which I opened and then spilled all over my cream dress. And we ended up, you know, just like in tears, going home, missing the reception altogether. And it was just a mess. And I'm like, I need to figure this out, because I do not want to live like this. I don't want my husband to have to be like, okay, are we okay right now? Like, do you need to eat some? It's like you throw the bone into the dog before you approach it. It's like, here you go, just take the treat, that's good. You know, I didn't want that to be my lifestyle. And so, because when I started on my journey of eating healthy foods, I was like, great, fruits and vegetables, that's healthy. And so I'm going to live on those. And it's like, you know, I'd have big fruit salad for breakfast, and then have an apple for snack. And then lunchtime, it's like, have a salad with like basically vegetables and maybe like poppy seed dressing and some berries and cranberries. And then, you know, snack was maybe a thing of yogurt, and then suppers like some chicken stir fry with minute rice, and then frozen yogurt and berries, or a smoothie for a dessert. And I didn't realize that all these great things for my body were also causing these major highs and lows. I was living on a lot of really simple foods that my body, it caused cravings, it caused shakiness, it caused like I always needed to be eating, you know, like 8 times a day. It's like you just live in this constant need. And so realizing that, and that's, I mean, Christine and I both were big proponents of balance in your diet. And as much as like even the carbs I mentioned, I'm all for all of them, but there has to be a balance in your diet. There has to be some healthy fats. There has to be some good protein that's going to help stabilize those blood sugar levels, so that you don't become a hangry beast that's looking for the next kill. Yeah. You know, it's like, because we can start to feed that way and need that way when that's this cycle we're living in. And so learning that I can still have a smoothie, but I'm going to add avocado. Like Christine has a great recipe, like avocado and coconut milk and cocoa powder and hemp seeds, and, you know, being able to have a balance of things with a banana or whatever. Like, you can still have those things, but learning that for it to be a slow release. And even things that, even whole foods, you know, the reason that we're meant to eat things in their whole form is because it does have fiber, it does have things that satiate us, that it takes longer to digest, which means you're satisfied longer. So learning those things was a big deal for me, and being able to deal with my swings of energy. Yes. And I said that. And as far as I like I said, learning not to restrict as well. So learning that it's like it kind of that idea that, oh, if I don't eat, that'll be the best for me, or that'll be, you know, then I'll lose weight, or, you know, like I'll feel better. But at the end of the day, no, you don't have sustained energy. You don't have what you need when you go and you want to work out or have energy to play or have even the mind aspect of it is huge. Having clarity, you know, when you walk in to teach a class or you walk in to lead a business meeting, to feel like you're not going to fall apart if you don't have your, you know, stash all the time. And so, which for me, it was starting to introduce more healthy fats and proteins along with all those other great whole foods that allowed me to have sustained energy, where if I miss a snack in the day, it's not, you know, the house doesn't have to shut down or leave, everybody leave because mama hasn't eaten yet, you know, the mama hasn't had her coffee kind of thing. But learning how to balance that is so valuable, and for our sugar cravings, it's essential to be able to realize that, you know what, if I'm going to not have that feeling, I'm going to have to be giving my body what it needs and the nutrients it needs, so that it's not actually, it's asking for something, it needs something.
I think it'd be a great opportunity to share a top breakfast, because we're talking about stabilizing our blood sugars, and how we start our day sets us up for success. But more and more of our success is about how we're setting up our environment and how we're starting our day than just willpower. So Jen and I thought it would just be such a great idea to each share a little bit about what we do for breakfast that we would love for you to experiment with. So do you want to build us your
I'll just
magical
build it really
breakfast?
quick.
Yeah.
So this is what I do every night. And I know your body loves variety, but I also love consistency and just knowing exactly what I'm eating. So I put coconut, which is unsweetened, and then I put chia seeds. This is like my breakfast, and it's been a crowd pleaser. I put chia seeds, flaxseed. I do like, you know, I don't know, tablespoon of each. You know, I'm a little bit of a chucker kind of person, so you might have to measure it out yourself to see what you love. And hemp hearts. There's just so much, like, our bodies need a balance of your fats, you know, like your omega-3s and your omega-6s and 9s. Like, we need a balance. And then usually I have like dropper stevia that I like to put in sometimes, but again, I find when I put in peanut butter, the flavor is amazing. So then I'll put in a tablespoon of peanut butter. I didn't bring a spoon, I forgot that. Anyways, put in a tablespoon of peanut butter, and then I'll add water to it and frozen berries. I put like half a cup of frozen berries in it, and then I actually put it in the fridge overnight. So I always have my breakfast ready to go. And so I don't know about you guys, but I feel so at peace when my meal is ready. Like when I know that it's sitting there, I can last till 9:30 if I have to, even